great to see you all here. Today, we are actually discussing a very important topic, and it's a very different one than our technical webinars. It's about bridging the cloud skill gap. And not only discussing about the skill gap problem, but also give you a very prescriptive recipe to solve these skill gap challenges. Now, we actually know, and we have been hearing about this skill gap problem for quite some time now. And a lot of people are actually asking, is it still valid? Is it still real? And if it is real, then why does it actually matter? Why should I care about it? Or why should I be worried about it? So we will discuss that in this webinar here. And also, we will tell you how do you actually solve this skill gap problem or to bridge the skill gap issue, how to tackle it, what are the recipes, what are the successes that we have seen where other companies and enterprises have adopted this strategy and are successfully bridging this skill gap problem. So if I take you a little bit into the history, the cloud momentum was mainly started by the developers and the DevOps teams. So they were the first group of people who actually adopted cloud. And obviously these are application developers, so their main reason was agility, time to market, and to make sure that when they're deploying their applications, they're not bogged down by all these hurdles that they had seen in the on-premise world. I still remember when I was in Cisco, getting a virtual machine was like a month-long task. There were too many hoops in the middle, too many red tapes, and then whatnot. So these guys actually adopted the cloud. And then once the cloud picked up, the traditional networking and security teams, they also joined the bandwagon. But obviously they were late in the game. So in some cases, the applications were already deployed. So they were going into the cloud and making sure the cloud was deployed properly from the networking and security point of view, the connectivity was properly done and whatnot. So unfortunately, I see a lot of enterprises are still catching up. And due to this skill shortage, the most enterprises are still stuck at the migration and connectivity space. And that is typically the first step when an enterprise goes from the on-premise locations, from branches or data centers into the cloud. Their first strategy is to basically provide the connectivity. And then after it comes the resiliency and modernization projects that are actually needed to make sure that your organizations and enterprises are digitally prepared. So the situation out there is not, I would say, very promising, but we are here to help you. The whole team at Aviatrix is here to help you. And in fact, the whole industry and these cloud providers are also behind this to make sure when you guys are deploying these applications in the cloud, you guys are successful. So this is what I wanted to share with you guys, that there are a lot of studies that have been done to identify the problem. And there are surveys conducted by different organizations. You can see this is a very recent survey done in 2023. And the skill gap within organizations is still a concern. A lot of organizations, they have realized that it's a problem, but unfortunately, they are still struggling to cope up with this problem or challenge. When you look at other surveys and studies done, this is another indicator that beside the general problem or the overall problem, there is a problem of finding the technical professional in the industry. So for example, you can see here that this blue bar shows you that it's difficult to find the right candidate for a position in, let's say, IT security or cloud professional or in the architect areas. And then this green bar or the yellowish bar tells you that it's extremely difficult. So if you look at this bar here or the projection here, you can easily see that it's very difficult to find the right person for the technical positions. But technical professionals and their skill gap is one puzzle of the problem. The second puzzle of this problem is the skill gap at the business leaders level. So these business leaders, decision makers, CIOs, CTOs, CFOs, they are still catching up in terms of their understanding of what cloud is, how it works, what are the business drivers, how to solve them, and how to actually tackle them. Okay, so in order to bridge this gap, there are companies, there are cloud service providers. They have done a lot of studies and provided a lot of guidance. For example, Harvard Business Review has published the number of guides suggesting to CEOs to be successful in the cloud and what steps they should take. If you look at Google, for example, Google has created a Cloud Digital Leader certification where they actually teach the business leaders and decision makers how to adopt the cloud. What is the jargon of the cloud? What are the challenges other leaders have faced when they were trying to adopt the cloud and were trying to modernize their digital infrastructure? Now, okay, now you see the problem. You have seen, a lot of players are behind this to solve this problem. But what are the threats if, let's say, you don't adopt a serious strategy or don't bridge this skill gap? So what we have seen, and also the industry has seen, that when you're building these networks, and if you're not hiring the right person, or if you have a skill gap problem, your networks are not resilient. So there are downtimes, there are networks going down, and you have a lot of business problems and application problems. Your network modernization efforts are also delayed. And when they're delayed, basically you are adding extra cost and also risk to your business. In some cases, we have also seen the security is being compromised because the network was not deployed properly, security was not implemented properly, people were still using the on-premise mentality, on-premise controls, and were applying it to the cloud workload, and that's not going to work because cloud is completely different as compared to on-premise deployments. So in the process, we have seen a lot of companies, they lost a lot of revenue, they lost talent and whatnot. So for that, project costs, they are going up. Now, enterprises are blaming that cloud is expensive. But my argument is that if you're not deploying cloud properly with the right security, with the right networking controls, obviously your cost is going to be high because you're going to be paying for those downtimes. The troubleshooting will be delayed or will not be done properly. So the MTTR, the mean time to resolution, will actually increase. And when it increases, obviously you're talking about the cost to the business. So those are the challenges. And then we also seen that it has slowed down the innovation and time to market. Obviously, it's a very competitive market out there. If you have your competitor who is already ahead in the cloud and you're trying to catch up, and if you're not putting the right control and policies in place, obviously it's going to delay your time to market. Your product's going to be late, and then obviously the consumer will move on to the product, which is more cloud aware, is more cloud savvy. Okay. We have also seen that because of this skill gap, customers are still using the on-premise firewalls, on-premise routers and switches, and sending all the traffic to on-prem, creating this hairpin effect, and also increasing the cost of the network. Because when your network or your traffic goes towards the on-premise location or egress out from the cloud, you're actually paying for that egress cost, which is typically very high. So beside those issues, what else could go wrong? This actually can create a ripple effect, and there are a number of things that could go wrong. For example, employee retention, employee performance, the confidence of your employees in your organization or in your product can actually go down, and which will also translate it towards the consumer. There is a brain drain also happening where the talent pool is actually moving from one place or one organization to another organization. So if you're not taking care of your employees, or if you're not taking care of yourself, you will see your key team members move from one organization to another organization. And then again, your projects are being delayed, and then you have a lot of problems there. So you are basically losing the competitive edge. That is a very serious problem. And we have seen it a number of times in the industry where the organization did not take into account this digital journey, and they lost the revenue or completely wiped out. So Blockbuster is one of the great examples here, where you can see it was a movie rental company 20 years ago. They did not realize the fact that the whole market was going digital, and the Netflix and other companies, they picked up on that, and they were not able to change their business model in a timely fashion, and now you can see they are no longer exist. So now you're thinking that, you're telling me all these issues, now I get that. I can see that it can seriously hurt my business, but why are we in this state? So what I believe is that we are in this state because when you're sitting in the on-premise and when you look at the cloud, from your side, cloud looks like an easy button. I will move my application to the cloud. It's going to be running in the cloud, all good. Okay, but that's not the reality, because when you go into the cloud has a very different operating model, right? You cannot simply lift and shift your application and just run it in the cloud. And there are complexities when you are building these applications in the cloud, because they have a lot of dependencies to the on-premise workloads and also sometimes to the other cloud workloads or the workloads running in a different cloud. So we are dealing with a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud scenario, which actually amplifies this problem. And then what we have also seen with a lot of customers we spoke to, that customers are still relying on the old networking and security vendors, right? They are just lifting and shifting their on-premise hardware virtual machine and just refactoring it into the cloud. That's not going to work. They're still bringing the old operating model into the cloud. What you need is a born in the cloud for the cloud software or a vendor that can actually help you to get out of this space. The partners are still, I would say, are living in the old mentality, old world. They're still trying to sell the hardware. So they have not really opted for the cloud in a real manner. And then in some cases, what I have seen customers rely on heavily on CSP native services. These CSP native services are good, but they are actually building blocks. They're like Lego pieces. You need to build that puzzle. You need to build that Lego to create a meaningful or a robust architecture out of it. And in some cases, these native services, they are also lacking, or they're not providing the features that you are using in the on-premise world. So is there a solution? Right, so yes, definitely there is a solution, but it has to start from the organization. It has to come out from the right mentality. Unless you and your organization does not have the right mentality, the solution is not going to work, because you will need a very focused and concentrated effort to make sure you're bridging this skill gap. You are providing the opportunities to your employee to catch up on this gap. And also it's your responsibility as well to make sure you're learning the new technology, you're learning the cloud, right? So you need to promote education, learning, and enablement at the organization level and at the individual level. So you need to create a very prescriptive strategy, a successful strategy that can help you bridge this gap. And fortunately, since we have been in this business for a very long time, we have seen a lot of enterprises have gone through this hump. So we have created this 5-step strategy for you to be successful and your organization to be successful. And this strategy is not just coming from a vacuum. It's actually the result of us working with a number of innovative companies and enterprises across the globe. And this is just a subset of list. And you can see these organizations are actually using Aviatrix platform and also the teaching and the enablement that we have provided to these companies to make sure they are successful in the cloud business. So the first step in this strategy is to make sure you and your employees are actually joining a like-minded community. Unfortunately, in the industry today, I don't see a cloud networking community focusing on just cloud networking and security problems. There are generic communities out there, but there is no cloud-focused community. So that's the reason we created this cloud network community for the like-minded professional. So if you go to community.aviatrix.com, you will see that we have put together a lot of recipes, a lot of presentation, tech tips and whatnot to help you. And also when you join the forum, it's your forum. You should be part of it. You should help others. You should post questions and get the answers through this community. And this is not just one of community, one of the communities. There are others like Stack Overflow, there are Reddit community, but like I said, there are like mix of things happening in those communities if you're looking for something focused, you can come take a look at the Aviatrix Cloud Networking community. The second thing is, I would say, is certification. It's very important, extremely important. There is no easy way out. You have to really work hard. You have to get certified. You have to learn about this technology. So we have created this Aviatrix Certified Engineering Program, which helps our customers learn about cloud networking. So when you notice, the curriculum is actually developed in a way that it's less about Aviatrix and more about cloud networking and security. And we have created a number of courses and tracks based on where you are, what you want to do, where you want to go. For example, ACE Associate is the first step in your journey. That's like 101 of cloud networking that you learn, right? And then you move on to the professional, which is more hands-on, where you learn about the deployment aspects. And then the last is the design aspect, which actually talks about the architecture and design and solving the business challenges with a technical solution. And then we have specialty courses with the SAP, with the backbone, hybrid connectivity, edge, automation, you name it, right? So our mantra is to provide this as a free resource to our customers, as a community service to bridge this gap. So all these courses that you see here are free. There is a dollar amount associated with that, but if you reach out to us, talk to us, we can actually help you join this course for free. And then beside Aviatrix, we have seen AWS is heavily investing in bridging this gap. So AWS has created a lot of trainings and certification. Microsoft has its own certification track. Google provides certification as well. But one common theme, you will see that their focus is very generic. When they have these certifications and trainings, they cover everything. So the database, the serverless, the DevOps, all these type of certifications are there. But when you look at Aviatrix, it's really focusing on solving networking and security challenges for our customers. Then third is about to rely on a trusted software vendor. When you're deploying the applications in the cloud, they're not running in the silo. They need to have connectivity with other services. They need to connect to database, GitHub, or GitHub or Terraform, right? So there are different players acting as a leader when providing this entire stack, software stack. But Aviatrix is the most critical one because it's providing the networking and security for your application. It's like food and water, right? So you need to trust on these trusted software vendors who have done it for the enterprises, who have seen it, right? So they can actually help you migrate your network. They can help you build a resilient network. They can provide you the cloud connectivity in a fashion that is required by your enterprises. So you need to pick an ISV basically, which is born in the cloud, for example, Aviatrix, and then use them or leverage their resources or, ask for help and then see what you can get out of it. And I'm pretty sure you will be really surprised and happy to see that we are here to help you to reduce or eliminate this skill gap. Now come to the hands-on experience. I mean, it goes without saying that hands-on experience is extremely critical. So we have created this self-service launch tool, which actually helps our customers understand how the networking should be done in the cloud. So what we have done, we have embedded all the best practices in this tool. So when you use this tool to deploy your networking services in AWS, we use the best practices to deploy all the resources, making sure the subnets are creating properly, IGW is properly created. If you need VGW is there, NAT gateway, route table, you name it. So it's really a great tool to learn about cloud networking and see behind the scene how a successful network is being built. And then when you take these Aviatrix courses such as ACE Operations or ACE Professional, you have a dedicated lab pod, which allows you to log into the cloud providers and see things in action. Moving on, this is more to for the business leaders. And in my opinion, everyone is a business leader. Everyone can actually play their part to make sure or to make this happen, right? But businesses, they need to realize that they need to invest in people. They need to reward people. They need to motivate people to take the certifications. or to use cloud, okay? And you need to encourage your employees to create blogs, participate in podcasts. And for example, Aviatix has this podcast called Altitude, where you can come in as an industry expert and you can talk about your journey to the cloud. Or if you, even if you're struggling and if you want to talk about your journey or your experiences, you want to share it with the world, come talk to us. We'll give you a seat on this Altitude podcast where you can share it with the world and you can actually help the community. That's the mentality that we need, helping the community, because we are all in together. We are all in it. This is our cloud networking and security world. Now it's moving to the cloud. We need to help each other. Then we have some third-party podcasts, like, for example, Let's Talk Cloud Networking, where they also talk about the cloud networking challenges, how other customers have done it. Social outlets are very powerful. Like I said, LinkedIn posts, blog, Twitter, and other areas, other avenues. Make sure you are leveraging it. And not only leveraging it, playing your part, sharing there, right? Because sharing is a force function. Okay. And when you're sharing or your employees are sharing, make sure you're rewarding them. CSPs, they also have learning credits. So you can go talk to them and then ask them about the learning credits. And usually what happens that when you get those learning credits, you can sign up for the AWS account or Azure account, and then you can test things out. You can play with the tools or you can play with the services that they provide you. So it's very important. Okay. So we talked about all these skill gap challenges. We actually showed you a strategy, a very successful strategy being implemented by a number of enterprises. In fact, some of our customers are using this strategy and they have taken it and embedded into their internal learning processes. Okay, so you need to make sure you are taking advantage of all those. So there are 5 strategies we discuss. Join the community, play a part there, ask questions, don't be shy. Hands-on learning is very important. Make sure you have hands-on learning experience. You're signing up for those AWS and GCP and Azure accounts. Get certification. A certification is a great way to start your cloud networking journey. And like I said, we have all these trainings freely available to you. And then we start from the ACE Associate, like I mentioned. And then next you can move on to ACE Automation, because Terraform is a reality. Terraform today is like the Cisco CLI that we used to use, right? So make sure you are doing all those steps. And then trust a vendor like Aviatix, okay? Because they have done it, they have seen it. Ask them, talk to them, and then see if they can help you with your digital journey. It could be just connectivity, could be just migrating, or could be connecting to other cloud, or could be just, let's say, securing the egress traffic. One simple use case. That's where you need to start. And then finally, you need to invest your time as an individual into learning this technology, getting certified. And also, if you're a business leader or a manager or a supervisor, make sure you're rewarding your employees, because that will really help. So with that, I would like to close and then open it up for Q&A. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so guys, thanks a lot for joining us today. I hope you got something out of this important topic today. We discussed a lot of topics and shared a lot of resources. We'll be sharing it on the chat window, all these links. So there were very good questions I saw on the chat panel and the QA panel, and I picked up on 2 of them. So the first one is about the hands-on cloud experience. So we discussed that, the self-service tool for you to take a look, deploy the topology using that tool. You don't need to know all the cloud networking details. Once the network is deployed, you can log into AWS, you can peek behind the scene and how we have done it with all the best practices. So this is for you. The second question I saw is about the egress use case that I mentioned during my presentation. And one of the customers is asking about the NAT gateway. Is there any chance we can use Aviatix software to reduce the cost of the NAT gateway? A great answer. And question, sorry. And the answer is yes, absolutely. Because Aviatix is helping a lot of customers reduce the NAT gateway cost. Because if you're using the CSP NAT gateways, they will charge you based on the data that is going through the NAT gateway. But if you're using Aviatix NAT gateway, we don't charge you for the data throughput or the data that is going through that, right? And not only that, we also increase the security posture of your entire application that is public facing or going towards the internet. Last question I see here is about, and it looks like a partner posting this question about he's having challenges or she's having challenges getting a certified person or a cloud networking skilled person. So on our community.avionics.com website, we have a job posting board available. You can post your job over there, and the community or the people actually joining the community will take a look at it and will respond back to you so that you can find the right talent for the skills that you need for your organization. Okay. So with that, I would say, let's open it up for survey questions. And I would really appreciate if you can answer these questions and help us improve these trainings further.